Not everything sacred announces itself. What if the distance you feel from God is not a gap to cross but a forgetting to stop? Before you try to reason your way in, before you tally what you've done or failed to do, notice the space that sits between two breaths. In that small quiet, something about you remembers, softly without argument, that you were never meant to be an island. This is not a clever belief to hold. It's a felt fact to rediscover. You live in a culture that prizes reaching, proving, achieving. We are trained to measure spiritual life the way we measure productivity. More effort equals more result. So you tighten, you strategize, you recite affirmations, and you scan for signs that the universe is finally working. Yet despite the thoughts you may hold, desires for abundance, love, peace, your body can still be living an older story. The chest stays tight, the breath stays high, the jaw clenches. You say the words, your cells carry something else. There is a mismatch. Mind-level belief on one side, body-level conditioning on the other. Until those two are speaking the same language, the field you move through reads the deeper signal, the living, embodied one, and continues to respond to it. There is a long conversation between mystics and certain lines of modern thought about the way observation changes what's observed. Some physicists speak in measured, technical terms about how measurement collapses possibilities into a particular outcome. Mystics, in their own language, have said for millennia that presence alters reality. These are not identical claims, and neither is a proof of the other. They can, however, be held together as resonant metaphors, as if attention, especially felt attention, folds potentials into a lived possibility. The point is not to arm you with equations. The point is to offer a map. What you embody writes itself into the field around you. Think of your nervous system like a radio tuned to a station shaped by generations of lived experience. If the ancestors learned to brace through scarcity, the tissues remember. Fascia, the connective web beneath your skin, holds stories of adaptation, of protection. Your patterned breathing has learned where safety should hide. These are not moral failures. They are survival strategies. But in the present, they can keep you aligned with a timeline that predates this moment. Scarcity, smallness, holding back. Even when your mind says yes to abundance, your body plays music in a minor key. The field reads that music and arranges reality accordingly. What you ask for with your mind can be undermined by what you signal with your body. You might recognize these signs. You cannot take a deep breath without tension rising in your chest. You find it hard to relax around good news because your body expects the other shoe to drop. You notice a tightness at the back of your throat when someone compliments you. Or you habitually rush to solve problems because calm feels dangerous. These are not character defects. They are embodied memories, and they are addressable. The practice that makes a real difference is not further mentalizing or another success strategy. It's retuning the body so that your felt reality matches your intentions. There is a simple hypothesis here. Appreciation is not merely an idea you think, it is a frequency you embody. When you offer appreciation with the chest open and the breath full, your body's chemistry shifts. Your nervous system moves from contraction toward safety. That shift is legible to the field. Small, genuine experiences of appreciation, felt in the tissues, not rehearsed in the mind, begin to resonate outward. They do not guarantee a specific outcome, but they alter the probability landscape of your lived experience. In other words, the interior climate you cultivate has consequences beyond inner comfort. It biases the unfolding of events toward coherence. This is where the practice I want to offer you lives. A brief, somatic ritual of recognition and release, what you might call a body prayer. It's not a magic incantation. It is an embodied permission to come home to yourself and to let the field respond to a new signal. If any of this feels overwhelming, please know this is only an invitation. If strong emotions arise, pause the practice, breathe, and consider seeking safe support from a friend, a therapist, or a trained somatic practitioner before continuing. You are not required to stay with anything that feels unsafe. If this resonates, pause for a breath with me now. Place one hand lightly over your heart, so you feel the warmth and the subtle beating beneath your palm. Breathe in through the nose for a slow count that feels comfortable, not forced, and let the exhale be an easy release. As you breathe, sense any tightness in the chest or throat. See it without judging, a memory, a posture of protection. Name it softly in your mind. I notice this tightness. And then shift your attention to the warmth of your hand. With the next exhale, imagine your breath gathering that tension and smoothing it like water easing over stone. Whisper, either out loud or inwardly. You don't have to carry this alone. Let the words land in the body rather than the head. Stay here for a few cycles. Feel gratitude. Not for an outcome, but for this very breath and the fact that you are here to notice it. Even small, honest appreciation, thank you for this breath, is different when felt in the chest and the belly. Let your posture soften. See if the jaw unclenches a hair. If tears come, let them come. They are part of the body unlocking. If fear rises, breathe with it. If you feel unsafe at any point, place both feet on the ground, notice the contact with the floor, and call a person who knows how to help you land. This ritual shifts something because it treats feeling as evidence. Intellectual assent can point the way, but somatic coherence writes the pathway more effectively. When your nervous system registers permission to relax, when fascia unthreads some old holding, your lived signal to the field becomes more open, more centered. In that openness, practical surprises begin to appear, not as miraculous promises but as natural consequences. The right conversation arrives, energy for next steps returns, and intuition that had been muffled finds voice. These are small ripples, and they accumulate. There is collective intelligence in the way human beings entrain. When one person softens, it nudges others, partners, co-workers, even strangers, to loosen in response. We are wired for resonance. Consider a room where someone laughs genuinely. Tension spreads differently than in a room where someone is anxious. That is entrainment in its simplest form. Now imagine if enough individuals practice embodied appreciation and measured presence. The cultural rhythm shifts. Policies, institutions, and relationships are slow-moving bodies that orient toward the prevailing signals. You alone are not responsible for systemic change, but your coherence is not insignificant. It is a single, contagious note in a larger chorus. All of this points back to the still point where the title sits. Some truths about God are only understood in silence. God, as I use the word here, names the intimate ground beneath phenomena, the felt depth that whispers connection, the presence before labels, the warm awareness that knows you as you are. Arguments can never fully capture that recognition. Ideas can point toward it. Practices can prepare you. But the knowing itself is direct, pre-verbal. It happens in the hush, in the breath between sentences, in the soft noticing that something in you already belongs. Silence is not the absence of things. It is the medium in which certain truths reveal themselves without needing to be proved. Do not mistake silence for passive withdrawal. The silence I mean is active attendance. It is waking to the immediate field with no agenda other than presence. In that attentiveness, the whisper of God, or the felt ground, the deep interconnection, becomes intelligible. You do not arrive there by force. You arrive by unlearning the habit of arguing and by practicing the habit of listening. This is why contemplative traditions have always valued quiet, because some truths will not surrender to speech. They only yield to gentleness and attention. You may wonder whether this is naive. Is it wishful thinking to rely on silence? The practice is simple but not always easy. The nervous system, shaped by trauma and conditioning, resists being made available. There may be moments when silence surfaces pain, grief, or rage. That is part of the clearing. Hold compassion for yourself if you meet more than you expected. If silence opens a wound, know that a tender, skilled container, a therapist, a community, a trusted guide, can help you metabolize what arises. This path honors both mystery and care. In practical terms, you can integrate small pockets of this work into ordinary life. Before a meeting, take 3 conscious breaths and place your hand on your heart. Before you speak with someone you love, breathe into your belly and offer a silent, "I'm present." In the middle of a busy day, find the space between the out-breath and the next in-breath, and simply listen. These micro-practices do not replace deeper work, but they change the rhythm of your days. Over time, they shift the base frequency from which your choices emerge. Another way to think about this is timeline selection. When you repeatedly embody a certain tone, openness, gratitude, calm, your life begins to line up with that tone. Possibilities that once felt improbable begin to look ordinary. This is not deterministic, nor is it a guarantee. It is a description of how embodied attention influences probabilities. You are not fabricating reality out of thin air. You are changing the way you participate in what is already unfolding. In the quiet, you choose a timeline that aligns with a deeper sense of home. Stories will help anchor this. Imagine a woman who had learned to brace in childhood because food and care were scarce. As an adult, she could recite affirmations about abundance, but her body tightened whenever an opportunity arrived. When she began a daily 5-minute hand-on-heart practice, the body slowly began to remember safety. She did not immediately win the lottery or have every problem vanish. Instead, subtle opportunities arrived. A mentor invited her to collaborate. A client extended a contract. A neighbor offered practical help. These changes were not magic. They were consequences of a nervous system that no longer signaled chronic scarcity. They were also the byproduct of small choices repeated over time. You might picture a city where a handful of people begin practicing this quieting. At first, it seems like nothing, but as more individuals shift, public spaces feel calmer, conversations are less reactive, and community responses to crisis become more creative. This is not a fairy tale. It is a pattern observed whenever human groups deepen their capacity to regulate and attend. You do not need to change the whole world to change a life. And by changing a life, you change the field that life touches. If you want to begin right now, there are 3 simple invitations you can take into your day. First, practice 1 minute of hand-on-heart appreciation each morning. Second, notice one area where your body still braces and offer it a soft permission to ease. Third, cultivate a moment of silence before important decisions. Listen for what wants to be known rather than rushing to prove what you believe. These steps are small and accessible, and they begin to retrain your tissue memory. As you experiment, keep 2 caveats in mind. 1. This is an invitation to presence, not a promise to bypass professional care. Trauma and deep dysregulation often require therapeutic attention. 2. Scientific metaphors are helpful as translations, not as final proof. Use them to orient your curiosity, not to defend a doctrine. The integrity of this work rests in practice, felt change, and compassionate accountability. Now let us return to the place where this message pays off. Silence. I invite you to take a final, unhurried breath with me, if you are able, and to listen. Place both feet on the ground. Breathe in gently. Feel the in-breath fill, and notice the pause, that small threshold where inhalation has finished, and exhalation is about to begin. In that pause, do not try to form a belief. Do not try to fix anything. Rest in the simple, unadorned presence of noticing. What arises there may be utterly ordinary, a warming under the ribs, the sensation of a breath, a felt sense of belonging. It may be nothing dramatic at all. That is the point. Some truths about God, about the deep ground of you, do not arrive dressed as revelation. They come as a hush that reconfigures how you stand in the world. Hear this as a simple recognition. You are held. This is not meant to be a theological assertion enforced upon you, but an invitation to verify inwardly. If it lands, let it soften the way you carry your days. If it does not yet land, keep practicing with curiosity, not condemnation. You are being offered an internal way back to yourself. If this quiet felt helpful, consider returning for more practices and reflections. There are short rituals and teachings that can support you as you retrain your nervous system and deepen your capacity to know. But for now, return again to the breath. Sense the hand on the heart, the small warmth, the slow exhalation. Name, silently, I am here. Let that be enough. Some truths about God are only understood in silence. In that silence, you are not searching for something far away. You are remembering something already near. Stay with that, remembering a while. Breathe. When you are ready, open your eyes and go gently into the day. If you found this quiet helpful, subscribe for more short practices and reflections, and come back to this space whenever you need to remember how to be home.